Hey, what's up? How you doing, everyone? It's James Romero here at SwitchWatch, your home for everything Nintendo Switch related. I'm back today with another review, and this one is the Escapists 2, the sequel to the wildly successful Escapists by Mouldy Tooth. The game was published by Team 17, and those guys gave us a copy for review purposes, so many thanks. As always, we're going to give you our honest opinion. Is this game any good, and is it worth your hard-earned cash? Let's jump in and find out. The Escapists 2 kicks off with an ex-jailbird lying on the beach sipping on a cocktail whilst boasting about his great escape. Yes, pun intended. You get to play out this escape as the introduction to the game's controls and objectives. After this flashback, you get back to the present and our ex-jailbird is caught by the authorities and dragged back to prison. Once completed, you are left to choose one of the 10 prisons in which to live out a tedious routine whilst planning an escape in whatever manner you can think of. This is the single goal of the game. Welcome to the Escapists 2. The soundtrack includes a series of catchy chiptunes across each of the 10 levels which match the level's theme really well. None of the songs will stick in your mind, but they are composed very well and complement your experience. Outside of the music, we have a lot of sound effects, from chipping away at a wall to smacking someone's head whilst they are minding their own business in the shower, to the locking down of the prison. There is something satisfying about the sound of working out in a gym and pumping up your stats. Visually, the Escapists 2 improves things noticeably over the first game, which was inspired by the ZX Spectrum. The colour palette is broader and there are now over 300 customisations available to you when you select your character and every single character within your level. Day and night effects work well and the different jails have their own personality. That said, the pixel art is not the finest out there. Games like Kingdom New Lands and Stardew Valley have shown us that we can have simple graphics with careful level of detail that stands out. On the move, the visuals are definitely better to look at without the extra real estate to oversize things. Menus in the game are functional but basic looking, and you end up spending a lot of time with them. Escape by any means necessary is your primary objective in every level. The game follows the trend of throwing you in without explaining too much after a short tutorial that arms you with the controls and shows you an example of a very basic breakout. Each of the 10 prisons is its own sandbox, complete with dynamic inhabitants that will get into trouble with or without you, as they often fight each other, earning a beating from the guards, and will even attempt to escape or get caught with contraband. You get to feel as though you are Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption, or perhaps Fletch from Porridge is more fitting. The premise of the game is excellent and the open world nature leaves your mind puzzling over the best location to escape and how to achieve it. Should you try and dig out, dress up as a guard and try to walk out, your mind can work up wonderful plans and the game will let you work towards them. What makes the game stand out from a regular sandbox game is its strict prison schedule that dictates everything from when you must eat to lights out and roll call each morning. This schedule forces you to head to the right location at set times, and exactly what the schedule is will vary from level to level. Planning your progress around this day at first is daunting, and in my first run I didn't realise that I didn't have to stay for the whole time. Rather, you just need to check in during the allotted time and you can head off to further develop your escape plan. To add another layer to the game, stats are introduced. You have a level of intelligence, strength and speed that affects various tasks, from which jobs you can perform to whether you are smart enough to craft tricky items. Working out in the gym builds up the first two using simple minigames that involve timing in both triggers. Similarly, improving intelligence involves reading books using a minigame. This edition has you bettering yourself in your rehabilitation, albeit with the purpose of helping you escape. Where things begin to fall down in the Escapists 2 is in the tedium. Whilst a strict schedule adds challenge, it ends up feeling like time is being wasted against your progression. Once you figure out a plan, you will need to gather resources by stealing from fellow inmates, their secret stashes, and doing favours, which are effectively quests in exchange for cash which can be spent to buy goods from other inmates. You can craft a range of creative weapons like soap in a sock to a makeshift shiv. Weapons help you take down other inmates for quests or so you can steal their items. You may even want to beat up a guard. You can also craft a big list of items in creative ways. Sticking together two files with tape will create a rudimentary set of cutters, whilst melting down a toothbrush will give you a blob of plastic that can be used for all sorts of contraband creation. Your first few days in prison will typically have you falling into a routine of heading towards your scheduled activity to check in, then heading to better yourself at the gym or library. You'll figure out some items aren't anywhere to be found, but you can buy them off a fellow inmate, so you pick up some quests, deliver this item here or there, beat up another prisoner for them, and all sorts of manner of things. This tedium makes you skip over your inmates' witty dialogue and see each of them as just another requirement to meet your escape criteria. That said, perhaps this is the point. After all, prison isn't supposed to be all thrills. Some of the prisons feature contraband detectors, and getting caught in a scuffle will see you beaten and sent to the infirmary after your contraband is confiscated. You can also find yourself the victim of a random search on your cell, where anything you have stored will be confiscated. These conditions add an element of fear to the levels that works well most of the time. However, it can be very easy to accidentally get caught up in a fight by accident, especially in the canteen, which is a surefire way to have any contraband you're carrying taken off you. This can be depressing if you've toiled to scrape together the requirements for certain items for your plan only to have them taken off of you. Once you have the resources and have improved your stats, it's then a case of figuring out how best to plan your escape. Is there a pattern to the guard's routine that you can use to your advantage? Where is the best place to cut through the fence? Maybe I can steal a uniform to help blend in, or simply walk out. Should I beat up a guard and steal their key? These decision points are crucial, and overlooking details will almost certainly lead you to a failed attempt. Failing is painful, both literally as the guards will catch you and beat you to a pulp, and figuratively as you will lose all of your items and will need to start again from scratch. This is devastating if you've spent a lot of time getting ready, but what it does mean is actually escaping feels fantastic. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but there are some imaginative ways to meet this goal, including some which require you to team up with a friend to achieve. One of the new features in the Escapists 2 when compared to the first game is multiplayer. There is both local and online play options, though online certainly works better as the screen becomes split in local play, which I found rather distracting after a short amount of time. Online you can jump into a prison very easily. The system was implemented really well. Playing online does present its challenges though, as without any form of communication you will struggle to achieve a plan together. There is also a versus mode in which you are pitted against a fellow inmate to try and escape in the quickest time. I found both modes a welcome distraction and cool addition, but I certainly feel the best experience is playing alone. Most of the prisons feature a similar layout. You have a cell as do your inmates, and there is a training yard, library and other zones, but there are also a few timed escapes. These give you an excellent and more linear escape against the clock. The first of these is the train escape, which involves hiding from guards in order to sneak past them when their backs are turned, and then figuring out one of the multiple escape options in a short space of time. These challenges are less about spending time in menus and more about skill and quick thinking, offering up an excellent break from the larger prisons. At $19.99 in the US, the game offers you 10 levels, multiplayer both locally and online, with a bunch of content to unlock and customizations to gather, plus multiple escapes per level. Even though there is a lot on offer, the core gameplay does become rather stale after a bit of time, so many will stop playing before experiencing everything on offer. One point that I did think was a bit cheeky is the price point in the UK. At £19.99, it is quite a bit more expensive than it is in the US, which is a shame, especially considering both the publisher and developer are based in the UK. That said, however, the game is accomplished and comprehensive, and it's not the worst value. Overall, The Escapists 2 has a fantastic premise and builds upon the original game really well. Playing on the go is a great way to play, and there are some great moments. However, I feel as though it gets a bit bogged down in menus and systems. The developer has missed a bit of an opportunity to give us a bit more backstory for the characters we play for each prison. Nevertheless, it's a creative and expressive game worth picking up if you like a sandbox type of game and have a creative imagination. Overall then, a very respectable 7 out of 10. I want to say a massive thank you to all of our subscribers. We really appreciate you sticking with us. You might want to check out the written review over at switchwatch.co.uk and leave us some comments down below if you get a chance to play this one. If you're here for the first time, massive thank you for checking us out and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to stay up to date with everything Nintendo Switch related, you might want to consider subscribing. We'd love to welcome you on board. I'm James Romero, this is SwitchWatch and I hope to see you again soon.